So we're joined all the way from Charlotte, North Carolina by my friend, Jackson State alum, Dr. Candace Chambers. We thank you so much for joining us today. As always, we've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson High School. We're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County schools, Ridgeland High School, Madison Central High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. So thank you so much for taking some time for us today to talk about this unbelievably important topic that I think, in my opinion, gets overlooked way too much.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. So we're going to talk about presenting your best self, crafting resumes, cover letters, and LinkedIn profiles. So we'll go ahead and get started. Just a little bit of background about me. So I started educational writing services in 2017. And so we provide editorial services, college coaching, and workshops such as these across the U.S. I'm from Jackson, Mississippi. I do live in Charlotte. I've written 2 books. I also teach freshman English on the college level and business writing as well. So I went to Jackson State University, University of Alabama, and UNC Charlotte. And so, yeah, resumes and cover letters are my specialty area as I work with a lot of different professionals. So we're going to talk about today how to make sure that students are presenting their best selves. So our 2 main key focus areas today will be resume and cover letter writing and also LinkedIn profiles. So for high school students, I like for them to think about who they are before they begin job searching. So sometimes students just want to go get a job, right? Like it's just a job, make some money, and we're good to go. But the core of who the person is, and even just the reason for the job is very, very important, especially when trying to frame a resume, a cover letter, or even thinking about a LinkedIn profile. So in addition to who are you, a few other questions students can ask when looking for the job is how will this job position enhance your skills? How will the job position increase your financial situation? So, get jobs to make money. So, how will this increase your financial situation? Also, how will the job position help you grow as a person? And then also, how will it position you for either your future career or even your college aspirations? So, these are some larger questions to ask other than just getting the bag, but how else would this help you as a person? Okay, here are additional some other things to consider with some character traits. And so usually when we get jobs, if we enjoy the job, it usually makes life a little bit easier. Now I know sometimes you just have to work, but if you can kind of know things about yourself, it'll help with job positions. So understanding who you are as a person involves some character traits. And so some include, let's say that you're very ambitious or you're very creative. So if you're creative, maybe a bakery or like some type of cupcake shop may be very nice for you because or art studio because you love to be very creative. Even compassionate, if you like animals or babies or even people who are elderly, nursing homes or animal shelters may be good for you. Let's see, courageous. A lot of kids like to be lifeguards, so they can swim, so that's a great fit as well. Even honest, if you are not the person who's going to take the money out the cash register, then maybe you should be the cashier because you are honest and people know you because you're very honest. Patient, resilient, persistent, especially when dealing with the public. And so those are some character traits that students can think about. And also with character traits, you have to know yourself as far as what you don't want to do. So I don't like animals. So I probably would never need to work in an animal so, and so, but I have a lot of patience. So work with the public doesn't really phase me as much. So you have to know things that you're good at, but things that you don't like. Because when you do apply for a job, those attributes about yourself are going to come out in the process, whether either it's on paper or in the interview. All right, so no matter the position, students do need to make sure that they are showcasing their professionalism. And so documents usually speak before the person comes in the room. And so the way the documents look, how they're presenting the student who they are is very important. And it has to be a professional image. So that's what we're going to talk through on today. So we like to think about the job as the final destination. So usually I do know that if you're trying to look for a job, sometimes we apply for like 10 jobs at one time. But essentially, you still want to make sure that your resume is pretty tailored towards the jobs that you do want, or at least something on the resume speaks to the type of jobs that you're looking for. And so we're going to talk about how to do that. So according to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, a resume is just a short account of your career qualifications, your set of accomplishments. And so they're used for a lot of different aspects. So of course, for job applications, but for my students who are considering college, a lot of colleges are now asking for resumes. And so your college applications could benefit from a nice resume. And then even for your student organization, sometimes sponsors want students to submit a resume that shows the extracurricular activities. And so a resume is very useful for that as well. So overall, it still presents a professional image. But in the context, particularly for a job, one way that is pretty, let's see what I was saying. It makes your resume more tailored is looking at the job description of a job that you do want, especially when you really, really want. And so here is a description for Chick-fil-A. So this is a popular place that teenagers work. And so I just pulled the job description from Kitchen Team Member. And so in this job description, it just talks about how this role is more than a job, it's an opportunity. You get to meet with different people, work with different people, different backgrounds, no experience is needed, but they are looking for friendly people who enjoy serving customers, and they'll teach you everything you need to know. So, okay, if you're a student, you have your resume, you're trying to figure out, hey, how can I position myself in the best way possible for this job? One way that you can do this is by looking for buzzwords. And so in this description, there are a few words that come off the page, and they include support. So you're going to be supporting your staff members, supporting the person who's over you as your supervisor. You're going to be assembling different items. What's a chicken sandwich, a chicken nuggets in a box, you're still assembling things. They want you to be friendly. So if you really don't really fool with people like that, it may not be the job for you. But if you can see yourself being friendly, whether it's with the customers, even with your coworkers, that's a buzzword. Being enthusiastic is also a buzzword. So what you would do to really position yourself is to add some of these buzzwords in your resume. So you can state that I'm enthusiastic or enthusiastic about XYZ, even if it's from a past position. You can say you supported so and so and so and so. And so now we're aligning these words with the job description because oftentimes computers look at your resume before a human does. And so if this job has put in some keywords of people they're looking for, and you have some words on your resume that align, then those two marry each other. In addition, if you want to include other things that they may not have explicitly stated, but they may be looking for in someone, let's say someone who's open to learn. So they didn't say like we want someone who's open to learn, but they did say that they're going to teach you everything. So in order to be taught, you have to be open. So that's something that could be an attribute put onto your resume. So you want to think very strategically about how you position yourself, even if it's for a fast food job. It doesn't matter. You're still trying to get experience in the workplace. Here are additional power words that you can use. They're on Google. So sometimes people get caught up in the words we always use, like I led, I did, I was responsible for. So you always see those ones over and over again. I was a leader. And so to make your resume stand out, you can use synonyms. So instead of responsible for, you can say like I navigated or I prepared or
Wow.
even
Wow.
like I achieved, right? Like so these are words that are more descriptive. But don't feel pressured to exaggerate your experience. So like if you really didn't do something on the job, don't think, hey, this is gonna make me sound fancy if I put this on the job because again, the documents come before the interview usually. And if someone sees your resume and they want you to speak about something, then you don't want, some fabricated information on your resume. But at the all in all, you do want descriptive words. So you can go to Google if you find yourself repeating some words on your resume, just go to Google and type in what's another word for XYZ. And it'll give you some more words. But these powerful words show the hiring committee that you have actually had experience in these areas. All right. So here's a sample resume. This person has a lot of experiences, but yours is probably gonna be shorter, and that's okay. But I like to show a long example. That way you can apply what you need to apply on your own resume. So at the top, you always want to include your name. Make sure it stands out. So bolded letters are also often good. and it should be a little larger than the other things that are on the page. In addition, you do want an email address. So you do want to have a professional email address. Some students do have their iClouds. Just make sure you check your iCloud account. In addition, a good professional Gmail account is fine. So instead of I am that girl, it's easier just to do your first and last name at gmail.com. And you can use that in the future, but it just shows already a professional image. But make sure you check it. You want to put your city and state where you're from. You don't necessarily have to put your full address nowadays because we're not mailing any information off. It's all digital. And then your telephone number. Make sure your voicemail is clear. So in case they call you for the job, you can actually secure that position or at least the interview, but your voicemail box is not full. In addition, you do want to include your education. I suggest putting it first since you all are in high school. If you want to put your GPA, you can. You don't necessarily have to, but you can put your high school. You can, if you're involved in any activities, you can put this person has leadership activities, internship experience. You can frame it how you like, but you can just put extracurricular activities and include those on your resume, especially as you are a student. When you get more work experience, you'll take some of those things off. But right now, the hiring committee can see, hey, they've been involved in student government where they have some leadership skills, or like, oh, those some organizational skills. If you volunteered in your community, you can put that on your resume as well. And if you do have work experience, you will just create a section instead of related experience. You can put work experience, and then you can list what those jobs were. You do want to make sure you're putting dates on your resume so that they can see the tenure of when you've been on the job. Now I know sometimes teenagers like go in one job and not the other, like you was there a month, 2 weeks, 2 days. So you decide what positions you want to put on your resume to best represent you professionally. Because sometimes when you're showing you're on the job for like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, then back to a week, it just shows that you may not be as stable. And that's okay. So, but you can control the narrative a bit on your resume. So just put the jobs you think that would really reflect who you are as a person. Last thing here, just make sure that it's formatted like pretty straightforward. It doesn't necessarily have to be so fancy. It's really more so about the information that you put on the resume. And I will suggest that you let someone look at it before you do send it off, a teacher, a family member, or someone, just for a second eye.
Hey, can we go back to that slide real quick?
Yeah.
Because this is really good. One thing I wanted to add on here is that I have a lot of kids tell me where I haven't had a job. And one thing, I'm a huge fan of Anthony O'Neill. I'm sure you're familiar with him.
Yeah, I like
He
him.
has a video that we're going to watch where he talks about just because you haven't had a job on the books, getting a W-2 doesn't mean you don't have work experience.
Right.
So if you've got childcare experience, that's something you can put if you babysat your family members. If you've done yard work in the community, you can you have you can show the ability that you've manicured lawns, and then also a lot of the community outreach, that's things that kids are already doing at school. They just don't realize it and don't document it. So a lot of things that the churches in the community and a lot of these student organizations, I know our JROTC here at Velma Jackson, I know at the other schools they do as well. They do a lot of community service. That's something that you can include on here that can add to your list of ways to sell yourself.
Yep, that is 100% correct. Because sometimes you'll see students' resumes and they're super short, and I'm like, you done something at your church, or like for your grandma, like for a babysat, and those are experiences that we often discount. So no, I totally agree. Even students can just sit down and brainstorm like things they've done during their ninth grade or over your summer. Those are probably things you can add to the resume. So no, I totally agree. Just to show the breadth of who the person is. One quick caveat for my first job, I put Girl Scouts on my resume and didn't even think anything of it. And I didn't have any work experience. I was in college. I didn't have any work experience. And the lady who hired me was like, because you had Girl Scouts in your job, on your resume, and it was like an environmental type of job, she was like, that sold it for me. And I'm like, I didn't even think about how that could have played a part. And I had no work experience. So yes, I totally agree. So last thing here, make sure you all spell check your resumes. It's like no excuse these days for resumes to have misspelled words. Now, if you do, it's okay. We're human, but try to at least spell check. Get a second eye. And then Canva does have some templates for resumes. You just want to make sure it's just not too fancy. So some of those resumes, like it's colors everywhere. It's just a lot going on. You want to make sure that the information is coming off the page. Some students do ask about pictures on resumes. I'm not a fan of them just because I think people discriminate. But if you think that, yeah, I don't really like it. Okay, I'll agree with your teacher. So yeah, I don't like them. Some people have argued me with that, but if it was my opinion, I would say leave it off because you don't want that to be a 0 for you.
I would say unless you're applying for an acting job that requires a headshot, there should never be a picture on your
It
resume.
should not be a picture. So yeah, just leave it off. Some of the templates on Canva, especially, they'll ask for a picture on there. Don't feel the need to put them. So lastly, here's a cover letter. Basically a cover letter accompanies a resume. These are really for jobs or internships that you're really, really serious about. And so basically a cover letter allows you to discuss your past experiences and specifically how they align with the job or internship that you're applying for. And so this really works for, like I said, summer internships, like a series, like I say, a career shadowing opportunity potentially, where you really want to say, like, yes, this is on my resume, but I really want to show you how what I've done aligns, but what I want to do potentially also aligns with what you're offering me. And so, yeah, that's basically what it is. Usually we use these, like I said, more serious positions, but it's just a narrative and you're just talking more so to the committee. There are templates online for cover letters that you can use, but just keep that in the back of your head. If this is a serious opportunity, you may want to submit a cover letter, even if they say it's optional. Sometimes it helps you stand out from the crowd. And then the last piece here is a LinkedIn profile. And so basically LinkedIn is like the professional social media platform. And students can begin this in high school if you like. I really would say if you do decide to go to college or your first year out of high school, go ahead and create a LinkedIn profile. If anything, is for networking. And so when you meet people, let's say like even in high school, if you meet people in high school, like your teachers, or even when you get to college, like your professors, your extracurricular activity sponsors, as soon as I meet people, I go find them on LinkedIn and connect. And so now I'm connected to that person forever. And also you can use it for careers. So you can go to LinkedIn and say, hey, let me see if I can find someone who's a zoologist, right? And then you find people who are zoologists, you can connect with them or send them a message and say, hey, like I would like to learn more about your job, blah, blah, blah. Or even college students that are on LinkedIn, you can connect with them. Hey, what's your experience been like at Jackson State? And so that is a good networking tool for you. And you can just think about establishing that just for your professional presence. We have Instagram, Facebook, all of that, but LinkedIn really is your professional image. All right, that was my time. So I am done. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a few things before I get to the students' questions I wanted to talk about.
Okay,
My screen's freezing. What? Okay, hold on.
wait.
Let me get back to you here. Uh, uh, hold on.
Okay.
I'm trying to make. I had you minimize while you were speaking, and now
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to make you back. But
Okay.
this is still recording. But one thing that I did want to mention,
Mhm.
or wanted to talk about is there we go. All right, now we're good. All right. So one thing I did want to ask about, because I do want to talk a little bit more about cover letter resumes is,
Okay.
first of all, you went to HBCU undergrad, went to
Mhm.
UAB, and then you got your PhD at UNC Charlotte. So I want to hear a little bit about, even though I have all sophomores in here with me right now,
Okay.
we have a lot of kids that are already starting to think about college.
Mhm.
So talk a little bit about what went into that decision to go to an HBCU and then again, a great HBCU and then two
Mhm.
great PWIs after that,
Mhm.
and how, and there's pros and cons of both. So just
Right.
talk a little bit about the balance in those two types of educational institutions.
Okay, awesome. So when I was in 12th grade, I sort of knew I wanted to go to HBCU. It was a family tradition, but also I just felt like I just wanted that cultural underpinning or background from an HBCU. So I applied to mostly HBCUs. I also applied to University of Southern Miss as well. That was a top contender also. And so going through that experience, it was very, how would I say? Fruitful. That's the word I would use, fruitful, because I was able to really be in an environment that fostered me to be involved in a lot of different activities. So like the newspaper staff, I was in the HIV and AIDS like peer awareness club. I studied abroad. I did student teaching or part of my program. So it was very helpful to just have a supportive environment. And then when I transitioned over to a PWI for my master's, that wasn't in the plans. I didn't even know I was going to do that. But the scholarship awarded itself to go to a PWI. And one thing that I saw was that my foundation as far as education and preparation was so solid that like I had a great time at the PWI, but I felt very prepared academically. And I think it was because like they overly prepared us at Jackson State. And so I was able to navigate those waters when I did transition. Now it was a cultural shift going into a PWI for the master's. The PhD sort of kind of my program had it was mixed, so it was more of a diverse environment that I still wasn't as used to. But the rigor I was still able to keep up with the rigor, I guess you say. But honestly, I wouldn't reverse it. So I would still, for me, I would still have my HBCU foundation like I had it because I had a sense of self and I had a sense of just academic being challenged, and it assisted me when I moved on to the PWI experience. But
Absolutely.
yeah, so that's what I would say. But only difference is I would say on the PWI side is just making sure I got involved, because it was just just taking those initiative steps to get involved, sort of like I did at the HBCU. So.
Yeah, and I would say the same thing in high school, and because we're talking about resume building and being able to put things in your cover letter. Because again, I have kids all the time say, "Well, I don't play sports. I don't do music. I haven't had a job." That's why you need to get involved as much as you can in high school, and then even more so in college, because in college you can have a great GPA, but if you're not involved in anything and have it network, people aren't going to know who you are. Because it is so much easier to go into a job interview when you've actually networked with people there before and they know you're a part of an organization. And everybody doesn't have to do the whole fraternity sorority thing. If that's not your thing, that's fine. You can find other ways to get involved. There are all kinds of professional organizations, social justice organizations where you can really start getting professional development. And it's not a job per se, but
Right.
employers are really, really looking at this.
Nope, I totally agree. I tell people I didn't pledge Greek, and power to people who did, but I was involved in so much other stuff. I got to still meet all those other people that were Greek in all the different organizations. So don't feel like you have to be pressured to follow one way. But no, I agree.
Absolutely. Now, and a couple other things before I get to their questions is, and I know we went through it kind of fast because we are limited on time, but
Right.
you showed two great examples of cover letters and resumes. But what I'm trying to get these young people to understand is how important it is to be able to write, how important it is to go into an interview, little small things, walking into a room and introducing yourself, being able to sell things, being able to sell yourself. I hear kids all the time say, I want to work at XYZ, and that's great. We encourage them to look at some of these great local companies, but there are thousands of people applying for these jobs. So they have to find ways to set themselves apart, and being able to write and being able to speak are the first two steps of doing that.
I would totally agree. I totally agree. It's all in the communication. And honestly, unfortunately, people judge us based on how we articulate our thoughts, whether it's on the page or verbally. And, I'm still a shy person, but what I do is I practice. So I use the mirror. You can record yourself. You can write, write informally, so journal, and that's how you get better. And honestly, it will take you very, very far.
Yeah, and you talk also about preconceived notions. More and more now than ever, companies are finding candidates on social media and weeding them out immediately because of something they posted. Now, people can cry all day about freedom of speech, whatever. That freedom of speech is not going to apply for a company deciding, hey, we don't want to deal with somebody that's posting guns on their TikToks, or everything they post is political. No matter what side it is, people don't want to don't want to have somebody that is so rabid and so I'm trying to think of the word, high, big time opinionated all the time, no matter what side it's on. So staying away from controversy and staying away of all the things that could be painted as negative is something I think students need to start doing right now. And I'll give a quick example of this. We have a great student here, and I pulled him aside one day. I said, "Look, you posted something. I wasn't even trying to find you. I just saw something that you posted, and it had a bunch of cuss words on it. I said, you
Mm,
got to think about it. And he was like, oh, I'm so, and I said, look, I wasn't even trying to find you when I found you.
right.
So you never know who's going to be able to find you.
Exactly. No, I totally agree. I think we have to think about what's public, what's private. And sometimes that those lines blur for some reason on social media. So I think even just the pictures that we post, especially our young ladies or our young men, like what is the image that you want to portray to the public, whether it's your writing or the image, because everything's public. Everything is
Yeah,
public.
absolutely. Well, I do have some questions from the students, and these are really good. So I'm glad they're asking these. This first one is Edward Flowers. He's in 10th grade. And he asks, if I'm competing against people that are older and more vested and experienced in a career, how do I make my cover letter and resume seem more professional?
That's a good question. I think it's more so the authenticity in both documents, especially the cover letter, but also the resume, and really articulating that, yes, I am young, or like, yes, I don't have as much experience, but I'm open to learning XYZ because of XYZ. So these are my future career aspirations, even though we may not have them all laid out perfectly. But this is what I would like to learn from this position. These are the skills I would like to learn, and honestly, like I've hired people and I actually like working with young people. I don't want anybody that's super experienced, but it's really the openness to learning that you have to articulate. But the resume is more so, even those informal experiences that we talked about, like babysitting, lawn mowing, having those on the resume to really show like these are the things that you've done and you're able to articulate that in a descriptive way. That already gives you good cool points because you actually were mature enough to make a professional resume. In the cover letter, you just express I'm open to learning, and these are the things that I want to learn from you.
Absolutely. I like this one. This is Levon Johnson. He's also in 10th grade. And he asks, would it be better to apply for a job online and then go by in person and introduce yourself?
Look, if that's a job you really want, go ahead and do it. So it just shows extra initiative that you, like you say, you've done both. So if you have the time and resources to go say, hey, here's my resume and cover letter, I just want to put a name to a face. I look forward to hearing from you all. It does, go even if you phone call them, if you don't do it in person, it still shows some extra initiative. Nothing wrong with that.
I agree. This is Shania Smith, also a sophomore, one of our volleyball players here. And she asked, what made you start to enjoy writing and what made you want to be an English teacher?
So writing is one of those things that I was gifted in. I didn't really know, honestly, when I was in high school, I was good at it. But I joined a newspaper in high school, and I'm like, this is really cool for me to be able. I hated like long essays, but I love short writing, like journalism. And so when I learned that, I'm like, I think I may want to do that. And then my family is full of teachers. And so I was like, I really used to like education, like at church, I used to teach vacation Bible school. So that's the informal experiences. So I'm like, maybe I should like merge the two, like something I'm good at, something I'm gifted at, and we'll merge it together. So writing is a gift, and then teaching is like I call it a calling. So it's just the beauty in finding what you're good at, and then it's just really fun from there. So that's what I would say.
Yeah. Now we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for taking some time for us. Now, just a couple of things before we go, and I forgot to mention this. I know you also deal with a lot of ACT training,
Mhm.
and one thing that we're doing in our district is really pushing ACT education, trying to improve ACT scores. And I look, they don't have to tell me. I already know they're sick of it,
Mhm.
and I know it's not fun, but at the end of the day, why is the ACT and having a good ACT score so important, even if a student is just shooting for community college, even if
Mhm.
they're just trying to get the career certificate and look, I just want to start working.
Mhm.
That can still lead to getting a great career. So
Mhm.
tell us why the ACT is so important.
Okay. I will say two things. First, what you just meant, well, first of all, a lot of kids are not taking the ACT, SAT anymore like they used to because of test optional policies at a lot of colleges. And so for students to actually have a great score, a pretty competitive score, it shows the extra initiative that they took to go and study for the test, number one. And so when the admissions counselors, even if it's on the community college level, they're like, hey, this kid took an extra step. So that's awesome. We like that character trait about them. And number two is great for scholarships. So it's community. I think Holmes has the program where you have like, I don't want to misquote. I think it's a 20 on the ACT.
20
Is it?
for a full tuition. That is correct.
There you go. Okay. So look at that. So you study enough. Now you have your tuition paid for. It's a win-win. And so it's just more so shows the initiative. You can get scholarship dollars off of it. You can get into programs that you may not have gotten, especially on the community college level, because a lot of those programs have admissions requirements, and ACT is included in that. And so you don't want to be excluded from opportunity because your score wasn't high enough or you haven't taken the test. So I always say prepare now, and you never know where it could lead. So if you have teachers and resources to help you really get your score up or take it, you never know where that could lead you in the future. So that's what I was
Yeah,
just preparing now.
yeah, you can never, and we actually do ACT exercises every day in class, and I know they
That's
get
good.
sick of it, but it really is great practice. And then
Mhm.
also, 20 is the baseline in Mississippi.
Mhm.
I mean, I know you're in North Carolina now, but the Help Grant in Mississippi, 20 on the ACT is the baseline for that. And then 20 on the ACT is $6,000 at Hines Community College.
Okay.
And then it also starts you on all the scholarships at all the public four-year universities. So it really is just getting up a few points can mean the difference between $5, $6, $10, $12,000.
I would agree. And I had the help grant in college at Jackson State, and it was for the ACT. So I didn't even know. And so that was my tuition for 4 years. You can't beat it. So yes, do the ACT exercise. It will pay off.
All right, now the last thing before we go is obviously, you're from this community, you're from Jackson,
Mhm.
and you've gone on to North Carolina to become an entrepreneur, and that's a whole different wormhole to go down. But you've
Right.
become extremely successful, and you literally teach people how to go in and be professional, how to write things to
Mhm.
get the job they want. What
Mhm.
are some things that these kids can start practicing and working on right now to be prepared when they step out these doors and walk in and apply for a job?
Okay. That's a loaded question. I think it just starts with, okay, first of all, just getting to still know themselves, like see what you're good at, what are people saying you're good at, exploring careers. So it's a lot of different careers out here, and just really see what people are doing, ask questions from people, and then paying attention in class, to be honest. So like excelling academically, getting involved in extracurricular activities, and it's just basically setting the foundation. So whatever you decide to do, you have a good solid foundation, but it's really just having an awareness, like not following the crowd all the time, really being focused on like, hey, it's life after high school, and just really buckling down to like, I need to really think about my future. This is only going to be here for a moment. Trust me, it's only going to be there for a moment. So that's what I would say. Just start building a good foundation. So when you do apply for the job, you have some things to talk about in the resume and the cover letter, and you can really present yourself in a professional way.
Absolutely. Well, again, we thank you so much for taking some time out of your schedule for us today. CandaceChambers.com is your website, Educational
Yep.
Writing LLC, all the way from Charlotte, North Carolina. Dr. Candace Chambers, we thank you as always for time for us.
All right. Thank you for having me. You all have a good one.
I'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Okay. Bye.